What happened when I stole my sister's spotlight? Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. The spotlight hit me, and so did 1,000 cameras. I'm Talia, the person who makes other people shine for a living, a lighting tech who knows every cue and every angle except the ones that predict a public shaming. Ava, my older sister, stood dead center on the charity gala stage, flawless as ever, silver gown like a comet, lashes heavy enough to cast their own shadows. My job was simple: keep her radiant. Then the mic went dead. Her lips moved, no sound. I sprinted from the booth, swapped the transmitter, and she panicked. A handler shoved me into the wash of light. Cameras pivoted. The crowd saw my face when I said, "Testing now." And the system surged to life on my voice, not hers. The room laughed. Ava didn't. The clip hit social before I hit the wings, captioned, "Little sister hijacks big night." Denise, our mother, froze into her cosmetic smile, the one that says we'll fix this later. But the room had already decided I did it on purpose. I felt my stomach drop past the stage, past the footlights, past the foundation donors who measured worth in table placements. I don't rehearse speeches. I rig trusses and quiet panic. But the thing I stand to lose, my job, my fragile line to dignity, suddenly dangled from gossiping hands. And because I know how Spotlight works, I also know how it burns. I saw the future in the LED strobe, a pulsing headline that could swallow me. I saw Ava's jaw clench like a door bolting shut. I saw Denise calculating which daughter was salvageable. Someone hissed, "Apologize." Another, "Publicly." Then the handler whispered what everyone wanted, "You owe her the stage," while I stared up and felt the rig sway. I remember the sequin tables rippling like fish scales as heads turned, the donors' laugh smiles sharpening into knives. A cameraman mouthed sorry while zooming in. Someone from production pressed a cool bottle into my hand that I didn't drink because my jaw had locked into a grin I didn't own. Ava's fiancé, Mark, lingered stage left with a cocktail of concern and calculation, whispering to the handler as if damage control were performance art. "It'll be fine," he told me. "I's never meeting mine. We'll shape the narrative." I've spent years learning how to shape light, which is honest because it shows everything it touches. Narrative is softer, stickier, and when it dries, good luck peeling it off your skin. Our family is fluent in it. We learned that on church stages, school plays, and, later, in Ava's collabs, where truth and story negotiated an exchange rate. If I apologized quickly, maybe sponsors would settle. If I hesitated, I'd become a symbol of envy, and envy doesn't get invited back. Still, between the rig beams, I watched the exit sign glow like a choice I hadn't made. But the question that scared me more was simple: who pushed me into the light? When we were kids, Ava put on shows in the living room, and I taped flashlights to broom handles to give her halos. Denise choreographed the applause, teaching us where to place our gratitude for maximum effect. We weren't rich, not then, but we learned to behave like a brand in case money arrived later. It did. Ava's feed caught fire in our 20s, recipes, morning routines, treadmill confessions. I learned to coil cable neatly enough to disappear. "Not everyone is meant for the front," Denise would say, glazing it as kindness. Last month, she watched a highlight reel where Ava accepted a local award while I aimed to follow spot. "You're so good at supporting," she murmured, then added, "Maybe smile less backstage. It's confusing." Fresh wound, neat packaging. Ava's perfection has rules. Never sweat, never contradict, never admit the plan changed. I used to admire it. Then I became the contrast that made it pop. Tonight, in the green room, she'd kissed my cheek and whispered, "Don't trip any breakers, Tal." Harmless, until it wasn't. The gala's theme, "Spotlight for Shelter," felt like a dare. We hugged for cameras, and I tucked myself back into the shadows where I belong. Except belonging is rented space. The lease ends when perception shifts. After the clip exploded, Denise's phone buzzed like a hive. "Handle this," she told the PR handler, who looked me over as if measuring a mess. "We'll issue a statement," he said, "something about equipment failure and nerves." I nodded, wanting peace. But the word nerves lodged like a lie, because in the jostle near the wings, my elbow had brushed a hand I didn't recognize, and that hand had guided me forward with practiced pressure. Denise collects favors like charm bracelets, each trinket a promise ode. Our reputation is our retirement, she likes to say, half joking, fully serious. When Ava went viral, Denise became logistics, and I became logistics assistant. I booked rehearsal rooms, I ran tech scouts, I returned gowns to stylists who spoke to me like I was an unpacked crate. Ava gave me a framed photo once. Us as kids, my flashlight halo crooked above her head, and wrote, "Couldn't do it without you." We both knew she could, but the gesture kept peace. The gala was a culmination. City leaders, cameras, livestream donors watching from yachts and hospital beds. We tell ourselves we do it for the shelter, and we do, partly. But the machine also eats applause to stay running. After the incident, Denise paced in heels that clicked like metronomes, coaching the handler through phrases, "unfortunate moment," "technical snafu," Talia's quick thinking. None of those sounded like me. All of them sounded like packaging. I thought about how packaging hides the contents and makes returns easier. I thought about how, last week, Mark had asked me if our insurance covered emerging reputational risks, and when I laughed, he didn't. The memory nudged me now, like a foot under a table reminding me to shut up and smile. So why did Ava's eyes gleam like the show must go off without me? The morning after, my name trended smaller than Ava's, like a smudge under a crown. Her video apology, "We all make mistakes in the chaos of live events," landed before my coffee, and people praised her grace while dragging my face. I silenced notifications and opened bills. Rent doesn't read hashtags. I told myself to let it pass. Then I saw an invoice in the event inbox. I manage crew schedules for a diamond set credited to the charity account, billed to a boutique that never comped anything. The line item said loaner, the amount said retail, and the due date said yesterday. The boutique logo matched the box Ava flashed on a story captioned, "Grateful to our generous partners." I scrolled further. A florist charged for arrangements marked sponsor, and the charge wasn't discounted. On Ava's reel, a sponsor logo hovered. On the ledger, real money bled. Maybe it's a reconciliation lag, I thought. Then I noticed a rental slip for a ring Ava called Forever. I stopped pretending the timelines matched. At noon, Denise texted, "Draft apology video. Upload by 5. The handler followed. "We'll keep it light, supportive, no blame." My thumb hovered. If I apologized, the narrative would seal like acrylic. If I asked questions, I'd be the jealous sister undermining women's success. I pulled the EXIF data on Ava's dress-fitting photo. Timestamp said Wednesday. Location said a studio 3 cities away while she'd posted on-site final checks. It could be scheduling semantics. It could be nothing. Then I noticed the file author key, a PR firm we'd never credited publicly. They were ghost-building perfection while donors footed the ambience. My stomach flipped again, meaner now. I deleted my draft apology and opened the vendor folder like a trapdoor into daylight. The boutique's contract referenced a visibility package, promising 3 tag posts and a red carpet still, yet the charity's media kit didn't include any paid partnerships. I cross-checked Dropbox folders. The same images appeared twice with different captions, one filed as donor thank you, the other as sponsored deliverable. Maybe accounting would reconcile it. Maybe a PR intern mislabeled assets, but the pattern felt engineered, not messy. In a side folder, I found a draft caption that read, "Honored to wear pieces gifted to the shelter's auction," and my scalp prickled because the boutique's paperwork screamed rental with penalties. I printed nothing, paper leaves trails. Instead, I saved PDFs to a fresh directory named Cable Ties because no one clicks those. My fingers shook, sure, but not with guilt. Guilt is what you feel when you break something. This felt like catching someone hiding shards in the trash. That's when the boutique owner called me, breathless, asking when we'd return Ava's borrowed diamonds. At noon, the handler sent me a script. I was to stand in Ava's studio and deliver a soft-focus apology that would roll before her evening live stream. He wanted direct eye contact with the lens, sincere but light, topped with a grateful nod to the gala partners. Mark texted, "We'll cut it so you look brave for stepping up." That phrase, stepping up, tasted metallic. In the booth, stepping up means catching a falling element before it crushes someone. On camera, stepping up means kneeling to a narrative. I typed, "I can't film today," then deleted the text. Denise called before I could breathe. "Do this one thing, Talia," she said, voice bright as packaging tape ripping, for family. I pictured the invoices, the rental slips, the ghost-authored captions that bent time into a flattering shape. Maybe I had imagined the hand at the wings, the push masquerading as help. But my ribs remembered the pressure, the way a palm can guide without leaving a bruise. The apology would sand that memory down to a nub. I paced my apartment between coiled extension cords and a milk crate of clamps, work gear that never lies to me. The boutique owner called again. I let it ring, ashamed of the avoidance. When it stopped, I called back and introduced myself. She softened when I said I handled logistics. I just need the set back today, she said. Our insurance is strict. I asked for the contract number. She read it to me, and I recognized the gala's internal reference string, not the charity's. That's a production code, I said. Silence. Then, we were told it was a tax-deductible donation. My scalp tightened. I wrote everything down. Date, time, wording. I asked who told her that. Mark, she said, from Ava's team. I thanked her and promised a courier. Then I texted Mark. I'll handle the return. He replied instantly. We already took care of it. I checked the tracking number he sent. It was blank. I refreshed until the page looked bored of me. He called before I could confront him, his voice syrup sad. Let's not spiral this, he said. It hurts Ava when you fixate. My jaw clicked like a misaligned latch. I swallowed my temper and set a timer to go to the studio. If I didn't film, I'd be selfish. If I did, I might be complicit. I chose a third option, drive to the studio, but not to film. I'd walk the route of last night's hand, from wings to spotlight, and I'd find the camera angles no one expected me to check, the ones mounted high that see everything. The footage wouldn't lie to me the way people already had tonight. The studio lobby TV looped Ava's apology, the one where her eyes shone without actually getting wet. Comments crawled along the bottom. Queen Energy, Class ACT, be kind. My DMs had turned a different color, snakeskin and static, strangers telling me to quit, to kneel, to remember my place. I muted as many as I could before the app wheezed. In the kitchenette, I bumped into a junior producer who flushed like he'd seen a ghost. Ignore the trolls, he said, ice skating. Everyone knows live is chaos. People say everyone knows when they want someone else to stop knowing. I nodded anyway. Uncle Joel texted me a single sentence. Keep receipts. He's a building inspector. His love language is documentation. I slid my phone into airplane mode and walked the corridor toward the wings. The smell of hot dust on metal warmed the air, the scent of last night's panic. On a stool sat the second mic pack, the dead one, now labeled with a sticky note, bad battery. I opened the compartment. The battery read full. I swapped it into a tester, green light, steady. The adhesive on the sticky note was fresh like an alibi. I photographed the tester's display with a timestamp and tucked the pack in my bag. At the top of the stairs, a security camera dome blinked a red dot, lazy as a cat. I asked the front desk manager, different shift than last night, how long footage is retained. 30 days, she said, bored. Unless someone flags it. I flagged it. She had me fill a form and write a reason. I wrote, equipment audit. The word audit tastes safe in studios. In the booth, the server logs yawned open. I'm not IT, but light techs learn enough to survive. I found a timestamped note at 8:11 p.m. Input live override, manual switch. The operator initials didn't match anyone on last night's roster. I printed the screen to PDF and stared at the initials until they rearranged themselves into a name I knew too well, Mark Alvarez. The handler's login had approved it. My heart kinked like kinked cable. Denise called again. I didn't answer. In silence, a certainty landed, heavy and balanced. If I apologized now, I'd be apologizing for their choreography. Then the elevator opened, and Ava stepped out, flanked by her handler, smiling knives. Tal, Ava said, voice dipped in honey. I was just telling them how brave you were. The handler's teeth flashed like stage glare. We grabbed time on a partner's podcast, he said. You and Ava can address the misunderstanding together. I glanced at the server log window still open behind me and closed it with one tap. I'm here for return logistics, I said. Ava's smile didn't move her eyes. You're not mad, are you? That line, all sugar, works on cameras and sponsors, but it never worked on me. I need the jewelry boxes, I said. The handler produced a branded pouch. light as a lie. "The courier's due at 3, he said. I waited. It held air and a folded thank you card. "I'll pull the rest from wardrobe," I said, and slipped past him. In the costume room, the ring case sat open like an empty shell. A sticky note read, "Shoot afternoon, borrow extension." The initials were Mark's. I photographed, time-stamped, and emailed the image to myself and Uncle Joel. Then I opened Ava's cloud folder on the studio machine. She never learned to log out, and checked the EXIF on last night's rehearsal shots. The metadata pinned our live, hug to an hour when she'd been filming sponsored content in a different outfit. Not illegal, not even rare, but the charity tag underneath it made my neck heat. I scrolled and found a letterhead for Haven Rise, the shelter. It thanked Ava for donating a portion of proceeds from the event merch. We didn't sell merch. I compared fonts. The letterhead looked authentic, the signature less so. I ran a quick overlay with a press release template saved in our shared drive. The signature matched a flattened PNG we use for press kits. Someone had assembled a thank you before there was anything to thank. My stomach dropped its toolbox. I copied files to a drive labeled gels and walked toward records for the security footage request. The desk clerk, older, wary, took my form and said, "Flag marked," and then lowered his voice. "You didn't hear it from me, but someone already asked to wipe last night's wings feed." I breathed in through my scalp. "Who?" He pressed his lips. "Different department." He slid the form back. "If you want to make this stick, ask legal to preserve." I texted Uncle Joel one line. "We need an attorney before they bleach everything." Uncle Joel called within 5 minutes, voice gravelly and awake. "Rivera," he said, friend of a friend. "Doesn't posture, does paperwork." I sent attorney Rivera a summary. Faulty mic labeled good, override log with Mark's initials, jewelry invoices misfiled, prefabricated gratitude. She replied with a calendar link and, crucially, a phrase. "Send a litigation hold letter to the studio and PR firm. Today." The words gave my fear a job. She emailed a template. I filled company names, dates, device IDs, camera locations, and names of everyone who touched the broadcast chain. While I typed, Ava posted a boomerang, laughing with Mark outside a cafe. Caption, "Reset days are sacred." Comments screamed, "Protect AVA." My chest made a small cave around my heart and let it echo. I printed a list of vendors: boutique, florist, staging, AV rental, outside broadcast truck. I started calling. The florist manager, bored and honest, confirmed full payment. "We never sponsor," she said. "We do discounts on funerals." The outside truck captain remembered a late change at 8:09 p.m. Handler said we're switching to a different input path, story reasons. He emailed me a log. I asked the event accountant for a copy of the charity's bank statement showing incoming donations and outgoing sponsor payments. She hesitated, then whispered, "You didn't get this from me," and sent a redacted PDF. The outflow to A&M Media Services matched the exact amounts Ava labeled as in-kind in her story. My palms went cold. I checked A&M's registration. It was a DBA for a shell Mark managed. I stared so long my eyes blurred into pixels. I needed air, or a witness, or both. Denise pinged, "How's the apology?" I typed, "With legal for review," and immediately hated how true it sounded. Rivera's hold letter was ready. I copied Renee, the studio's in-house counsel I'd only met in elevators. I breathed twice and hit send. The blue delivered, made a small, clean noise. I forwarded everything to a fresh alias and printed a single-sheet list of what existed and where it lived. When panic knocks, lists answer first. The reply came fast from legal. "Hold acknowledged," who authorized last night's manual override. I stared at the email as if it contained a trapdoor I'd asked for and now had to step through. I typed the initials from the log and added a screenshot. A minute later, Renee called. "We'll investigate internally," she said, clipped, "but I need you to understand politics." I let her talk. "If this goes public," she continued, "partners scatter. If you care about the shelter, there are quieter paths." I care about the shelter, that's the problem. Quiet, in our world, means hidden. "I'm preserving material," I said. "Not posting." She softened a degree. "Good. And Talia, keep copies off-site." We hung up. I opened the charity's tax filings, public, unglamorous, and compared line items with Ava's posts about fully sponsored production. The numbers didn't marry, they barely dated. Then the boutique owner texted again, this time a photo from last year. Ava wearing a similar set, tagged, graciously gifted. The boutique caption under it now read, loan courtesy of, and then a black bar where a name used to be. We archived, the owner wrote. But someone DM'd us to clean inconsistencies yesterday. I asked for the DM handle. She sent a screenshot. Mark. The Y still hid in fog, but the what got louder. Ava's image wasn't just polished. It was purchased, leased, and mislabeled. If it were only vanity, I could let it slide. But the outflows from the charity account to A&M cut that option in half. Uncle Joel called to check my blood pressure by asking if I'd eaten. Toast, I said. Make it 2. Then he added, if this touches Mom's house, we move now. I blinked. Mom's mortgage. He exhaled. Refi last year, cash out to expand media operations. She co-signed. My mouth dried into paper. Denise had tied her home to Ava's performance. The stakes were not likes, they were keys. I opened my list and added a new line. Bank, refi documents, notarized by whom? My phone vibrated in a new, unfriendly way. It was Mark, smiling from my lock screen, calling with the confidence of a man who assumes you'll answer. I let it ring twice, then picked up and pressed speaker with shaking hands. Tao, Mark began, there's chatter you're pulling old files, and it's creating liability. Liability is a word people use when they've run out of charm. Return the jewelry, he continued, and we'll send you copy for your apology, strong, humble, healed. I pictured a cage shaped like a TED Talk. I'll return what exists, I said, once I verify chain of custody. He chuckled. Big words for lights. I let the insult pass and opened my notes. The plan had been assembling itself all morning like truss on the floor. Gather receipts, preserve servers, interview vendors, and build a timeline that even a sponsor could read without reaching for a vape. Then, controlled reveal. Not a thread storm, not a subtweet, but a quiet meeting where evidence meets adults. We should meet, I said. With Rivera, with the shelter director, and Mom. He whistled softly, surprise or admiration, hard to tell. No need to escalate, he said. People get hurt when families lawyer up. People get hurt when families don't. I propose tomorrow at noon, in a conference room the studio uses for brand safety reviews. They already know how to plug in screens there. After we hung up, I emailed Rivera, agenda, attendees, objectives, and a link to a folder labeled evidence, no edits. She replied with additions, bring call sheets, courier logs, and loop in the outside truck captain live. She also asked one small, terrifying question. Have you checked for NDAs you might have signed? I searched my inbox and found a generic volunteer media confidentiality doc from a prior gala, boilerplate, non-issue. I exhaled. Then I checked Ava's team onboarding from last year. Tucked in a brand standards PDF was a clause about non-disparagement of principals and partners. Vague as smoke, but sticky when someone wants it to be. I flagged it for Rivera. I printed 2 timeline copies in large fonts. One for Denise, one for the director who hates PDFs on phones. I labeled every artifact with simple words and dates. Evidence is only as strong as its readability. By dusk, the map of last night shimmered in my apartment like a model city made of receipts. I sat on the milk crate and stared at it until the buzz in my skull became a line I could walk without wobbling. And then the buzz changed. Ava was live, and she was telling my story. Ava's live stream opened on a soft-lit kitchen, the color of meringue. Sometimes, she said, voice trembling just enough, family dynamics spill into work. Comments leapt. We love you. Protect your peace. My sister is talented, she continued, but she's under pressure, and she made a mistake. She smiled like forgiveness and let it sit. The handler's fingerprints were all over the cadence. She didn't mention the jewelry or the override. She mentioned my overwhelm. I felt myself shrinking to fit the story's frame. Uncle Joel called. I clicked over. Don't bite, he said. They're setting mood music. I turned the volume down and listened to the underneath. Ava positioning herself for sympathy, preparing for a pivot. I'm meeting with everyone tomorrow, I told Joel. Rivera too. He grunted, satisfied. Eat, then go to dinner. Tonight's the rehearsal. He meant the family dinner Denise declared mandatory. I almost skipped until I pictured Denise's heel tapping into a crack that would widen into excommunication. I went. At the table, Denise rehearsed lines like a drill sergeant of grace. "We'll present unity," she said, pointing her fork. Mark poured wine and called me kiddo. Ava squeezed my hand with practiced softness. "We'll get through this," she whispered, breath scented like peppermint and PR. I put my printed timeline on the tablecloth. Denise's lips thinned. "This isn't helpful," she said. "This is aggressive." I stayed calm. "This is factual." Mark skimmed and tapped at one line. "This log is misinterpreted," he said. The override was standard. He kept his finger there like he could pin the page to his version of reality. "Standard requires roster initials," I said, "not yours." Silence sat. Then Ava's eyes shimmered perfectly. "Tal," she said, "you're turning a tech hiccup into a conspiracy. People donate because they trust us." The word us stung more than expected. "They should trust the shelter," I said. Denise's chair squeaked. She hates when we say the quiet part. She tried another route. "Do the apology, and tomorrow we'll resolve the rest off camera." I looked around the table and felt the gravity of habit pulling. Then Uncle Joel clinked his water glass. "We're not off-camera humans," he said. "We're humans." I almost laughed, almost cried. I almost caved. Then Mark slid a manila envelope toward me and said, "Sign this tonight." Inside the envelope sat a clarification statement with my name, a timestamp, and clauses that read like polite handcuffs. It said I accepted full responsibility for improperly stepping into the live queue, and that I had no reason to question sponsor relationships. It also included a non-disparagement line with penalties that could buy a car. I laid the pages flat and let the chandelier hum above them. "If you sign," Mark said softly, "we can protect you from the worst." "From what?" I wanted to ask the truth. Ava touched the back of my hand. "Tal," she murmured, "I know you're scared." I was, but not of the internet anymore. I was scared of becoming a permanent backdrop. I slid the papers back into the envelope and wrote across the seal, "Reviewing with counsel." Denise inhaled sharply, the way she inhales before changing a subject on live TV. "We'll adjourn," she said, "until tomorrow." After dinner, in the parking lot halogen, Uncle Joel leaned on his truck and looked at me like a beam finder, steady, precise. "Rooms booked?" he asked. "Noon," I said. "Rivera's bringing a projector and a voice I want on my side." He smiled. "Good." I invited the shelter director, and I told her to bring their accountant. My heart punched the inside of my ribs. She agreed. "She's tired," he said. "Tired people choose truth because lies require energy." I went home and packed the evidence folder. Logs, letters, call sheets, metadata printouts, vendor emails, courier slips, a list of camera IDs, and a copy of the hold letter. I labeled each with bright tape like a road flare. Then I slept hard and shallow for 4 hours and dreamed of trusses that kept growing heavier until the roof lifted off and daylight drowned the stage. In the morning, Rivera texted a single sentence. "Recordings in this state require consent. Keep notes instead." I nodded to my empty apartment. I made 2 coffees, one to drink and one to hold like a talisman. At 11:40, I stood outside the conference room and watched Denise, Ava, and Mark sweep in carrying smiles that knew their marks. Behind them, the shelter director arrived with a banker's box and weary eyes. We began with names, roles, and why we were in the room. Rivera kept it simple. "We are here to clarify facts and protect the shelter." Denise straightened as if the word protect belonged exclusively to her mouth. I walked through the timeline using a projector and a remote that clicked loud enough to puncture spin. Slide 1. Mic pack labeled bad battery with tester photo stamped 9:03 a.m. Today green. Slide 2. Server log showing input live override at 8:11 p.m. Initials M. A. Approval by handler. Slide 3. Courier tracking with no movement despite marks, already returned claim. Slide 4. Florist invoice paid in full, contrasted with Ava's sponsor love story. Slide 5. A&M Media Services DBA record tied to Marks LLC. Slide 6. EXIF data from Ava's on-site final checks, pinned 3 cities away. I did not narrate feelings. I named dates, amounts, places. The shelter director made notes, pin carving grooves. Denise tried a breathy pivot. in the spirit of collaboration. But Rivera gently placed a hand on the table. After questions, she said. Mark leaned forward, jaw tight. Overrides happen in live, he said. Rivera nodded. Who authorized? He hesitated, then shrugged. I did. Ava's eyes flashed then cooled. For the record, Rivera said, non-roster overrides must be logged with production consent. She looked at the shelter director. Was consent given to change inputs? The director shook her head. No. My esophagus loosened a notch. Then came the motive slide I dreaded. Outflows from the charity to A&M. We provided services, Mark said. Too fast. Content strategy. The director whispered. From the shelter's operational account. The accountant, who had unpacked her box like a battlefield medic, found the matching check numbers and swallowed hard. Denise tried a new posture, maternal, wounded. We all do our best, she said. Mistakes happen. Ava blinked, needing a linen napkin. This is being twisted, she said. My community expects transparency. Rivera clicked to one last slide. The clarification statement Mark had wanted me to sign. She highlighted the penalties clause. This reads like coercion, she said evenly. The room's oxygen changed flavor. Ava slammed her palm on the table and screamed, You hate me because I win. Silence hit so hard it echoed. Then the shelter director said, This isn't about winning. Her voice cracked on isn't, not from weakness, but from the strain of tree-off. It's about beds and showers and clean socks. She turned to Mark. Return every cent that moved through A&M by Friday, or we involve the board. Mark started to protest until Rivera lifted a brow that could file motions. Denise dabbed her eye, calculating angles even through mist. We can manage this internally, she said. The accountant shook her head with exhausted authority. Not anymore. Her pen tapped the checks like a gavel. Ava stood, pacing in tiny steps that preserved camera-friendly posture. You all feed off me, she said, voice narrowing into a lash. You want me to fail to feel big. I tasted old hurt behind her words and didn't swallow it. Tell the truth, I said quiet, and I'll stand next to you when you do. She laughed, one note, sharp. You want my audience. I want the shelter funded, I said. Denise snapped, enough. Rivera summarized. Evidence indicates mislabeling of sponsored goods, improper overrides, and potential misallocation of charitable funds. We will follow with a memo and recommendations. The director collected her box with hands that shook. I have to brief the board, she said. Today. After they left, Denise rounded on me. You've ruined your sister, she hissed low. For what? A moment of righteousness? I didn't flinch. For a roof that doesn't leak over strangers' heads, I said. Mark shoved his chair back. If you post any of this, we'll bury you in court. Rivera didn't look up. If you alter or destroy records after a hold notice, you'll bury yourself. My phone buzzed, sponsors pausing, pending clarification, headlines turning tentative, not hostile, questions raised about gala. My stomach dropped again, then leveled. The price was here. I would pay it. Emails from my boss stacked up, coverage concerns, client nerves. I texted back. I can take fewer shows next week if needed. He replied with a thumbs up and proud of you. Not public. I smiled at the weird tenderness of backstage loyalty. Denise closed her eyes and inhaled the end of something. Then Ava whispered, I'm pregnant, and the room tilted like a faulty set. The word landed like a glass dropped in a sink. No visible shatter, only tiny shards you find for weeks. Denise rushed to Ava, gathering her like evidence that trumps all other evidence. I stood still. Rivera's face didn't change. Lawyers learned to separate facts from leverage. Ava folded into a chair and stared at me with a look I recognized from childhood. Please fix, then forget. Congratulations, I said, and meant it, and also meant nothing beyond it. She searched my face for the sister who once taped halos to broom handles. I didn't hide her. I just set boundaries around her like crowd control stanchions. Here's what I can do, I said. I won't discuss your pregnancy with anyone. I won't feed headlines. I will send the evidence memo to the board and to you. If you commit, in writing, to make restitution and correct the posts, I'll stand beside you at a press Q&A. I won't lie. Denise looked horrified. Then calculation regained its footing. We can sculpt that, she said. We can use it. I shook my head. No more using. Uncle Joel texted. Proud. Also eat. I snorted. Rivera slid a short document toward Ava. Conditions, bullet point plain. Boundaries keep families from turning into businesses, she said, almost kind. Ava read, silent, then traced the edge with a thumbnail. If I fix this, she asked, almost to herself, do I still deserve love? I wanted to give her a simple yes. The real answer was weirder. Love deserves truth. Truth deserves love. Neither deserves PR. Yes, I said, and swallowed the rest. We scheduled therapy. Rivera recommended a nonprofit specialist who understands donors and shame. I offered to help the shelter redo their sponsor language, pro bono, in plain words you can read without a ring light. Ava wiped her eyes and nodded like a person deciding not to run. Denise exhaled a long, televised exhale. We'll regroup tomorrow, she said, after statements. I left the room and stood in a stairwell smelling of coffee and dust, and let my knees shake until the tremor passed. Then my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize and the word lawsuit. It wasn't a lawsuit, it was a threat of one. An email from a sponsor's attorney asking for clarification and hinting at claims if misrepresentation touched their trademark. I looped Rivera, who replied with a sentence that tasted like steel. We welcome your questions. Preservation notices already issued. I sat on the curb outside, sunlight making the dust dance. A delivery truck beeped in reverse, a sound that always makes me think of second chances. Awkward, loud, necessary. I thought about the word spotlight and how it never meant sky. It meant heat, aim, exposure, electricity harnessed to focus. I had lived my life pointing it at Ava while pretending I didn't want warmth. Maybe I never wanted her stage. Maybe I wanted my work to matter without apology. Here's what I learned. Envy asks you to steal. Love asks you to steady the rig so no one dies. Accountability asks you to label the chords and show people where not to trip. If you're ever standing in my shoes, shaking, outnumbered, smelling like hot metal, write things down. Separate evidence from anger. Find an adult voice like Rivera's. Eat something salty. Text the uncle who remembers you before you were a brand. Ask the board to say the words we avoid. Misuse, correction, restitution. And if you stole a spotlight by accident, check who framed the scene. By evening, Ava posted a new video, unvarnished, specific, naming errors, committing to repayments, linking the shelter donation portal. Comments split, then softened. Sponsors paused, not vanished. Denise cried in a kitchen that finally looked like a kitchen. Uncle Joel sent me a photo of the shelter's new laundry machines with a caption, Quiet Victories Hum. I slept. In the morning, I set fresh rules for myself in a notebook. I help, but I won't disappear. I forgive, but I don't forget. I love, but I won't lie. I drew a little exit sign, glowing, green, patient. Sometimes the bravest stage direction is letting the light move on.